and welcome our guest, Dana Hayes of Friendship Bridge. Dana has been with Friendship Bridge for about 3 years and works with the development team there. But she has an interesting background in costume and textile history, which you'll see why that is relevant to their program momentarily. But we thank you, Dana, for joining us and to learn about Friendship Bridge, a nonprofit social enterprise that empowers women in Guatemala to build a better life through the vehicles of microfinance, education, and health services. And in particular, we invited Dana and Friendship Bridge today because we're really interested in exploring these kind of global development themes. And in particular, when we look at the asylum push on the United States and other elements today and looking for interesting solutions that could help, this is one organization that we really think has an interesting model to offer. So I'll leave it at that. We thank you, Dana, so much for joining us, and I'm going to hide in the background and take it away.
All right. Well, thank you, Scott. I am so excited to be here today, and thank you everyone for tuning in. I know you have a lot of options, especially when, the course is just starting. You have to be there for the first one, but I really appreciate it. And I am so honored to be here to kick this session off for you guys. I didn't realize I was number one. So hopefully there will be tons of fun things to come after this, but also hopefully you enjoy this. My name is Dana, and as Scott said, I'm the development associate here at Friendship Bridge in Lakewood, Colorado. And this is an opportunity to really share what we do. So I'll go ahead and start my share screen and we will get this party started. So Friendship Bridge, going beyond microcredit. We have a lot of interesting things that we do here. So let me click through the next slides. As Scott said, Friendship Bridge is a nonprofit social enterprise that empowers women in Guatemala to build a better life. And we do that with the vehicles of microfinance, education, and health services. And today we're going to be discussing some of the intricacies that come along with microfinance in third world settings and how that has helped us develop our programs and offerings, and how providing support based on client feedback has actually led our organization to where we are today and guides our future decision making. So our history, Friendship Bridge began its work providing medical education and shipping medical supplies to impoverished populations in war-ravaged areas. And while medical supplies definitely make a positive impact on the lives of recipients, Friendship Bridge was looking for more sustainable solutions to poverty alleviation, and we found that solution to be microcredit. In 1994, we shifted our focus from medical supplies to microcredit entirely and began offering small loans to impoverished women. Our clients, indigenous women who were deemed unbankable, started or expanded small businesses with their loans and began creating their own sustainable solutions to poverty. In 1998, we began to focus solely on Guatemala, which is another war-ravaged country suffering extreme poverty and offering limited opportunities to women. So aided by investment from American donors, the seeds of our Microcredit Plus program, as we know it today, were planted. And in 2003, we had almost 3,000 clients borrowing from Friendship Bridge. By 2006, the number had tripled to 9,000 clients. And today we reach more than 22,000 women through our Microcredit Plus program. So poverty. Globally, it's estimated that about 689 million people live below the international poverty line of about $1.90 US dollars per day. Global extreme poverty actually rose in 2020 for the first time in over 20 years. And that is adding about 120 million additional people to that number. So they are living in poverty as a result of the pandemic. That number is expected to rise to 150 million people by the end of 2021 as we continue to ride out the pandemic. The question sometimes becomes, how do we know who is living in poverty when currencies, environments, and cultures all have discrepancies as to what poverty might look like? And for that, we use something called the PPI metric, the Poverty Probability Index. is a measurement tool that gauges the level of poverty that someone is in using statistically sound questions about household characteristics. So some of those questions might be things like, what is your roof material made out of? Or how many of your children are in school? And those answers have a corresponding number, and that rating provides a probability of living below that international poverty line of 1.9 US dollars per day. So how does poverty affect our clients? 44% of our new clients come to us below the national poverty threshold, and the national poverty threshold in Guatemala is actually 3.6 US dollars per day, while 70% of our clients have been under that threshold org-wide in 2019. And so Guatemala is this is a quote from the CIA World Factbook, one of the poorest countries in Latin America and the Caribbean. It has highly unequal incomes and chronically malnourished children. It is beset by political insecurity and lacking skilled workers and infrastructure. It depends on remittances for nearly 1/10 of its GDP. So despite a pre-pandemic stable economy, Guatemala has actually been reporting that the population living in debt has been rising. So they've been going together. In Guatemala, as of 2019, roughly 59% of the population lives in poverty, with a disproportionate amount of that demographic being indigenous. Indigenous peoples make up about 39% of the overall population in Guatemala, but 79% of them live in poverty. And we know that women make up a large portion of the people living in poverty worldwide. Particularly in Guatemala, there are high rates of violence and discrimination against women and indigenous people, and they are doubly affected by the lack of opportunity, resources, and finances. We also knew it was going to take a lot of time, patience, and determination to gain the trust of these people, especially given coming out of their civil war. So in a country where almost 14% of their GDP is from agriculture, often indigenous women do not own the land they farm, they actually sharecrop. And the nation overall, as the CIA stated, lacks infrastructure. And with the pandemic, even the local chicken buses were shut down. So there were no opportunities to expand to new markets or pursue other options. Guatemala is a country where women have very little voice. They have very little opportunity for participation in decision-making, and they have very few legal rights or representation. This is proven by the fact that Guatemala is 107th out of 149 countries in the Global Gender Gap Index. And at the beginning of 2020, Guatemala ranked 127th out of 189 countries for literacy rate. The literacy rate of women is 10 percentage points lower than for men, and it's ranked 10th out of 157 for income inequality. So not doing that great as far as the grades go. Our decision to focus on unbankable women in rural areas comes from the fact that indigenous Maya in those rural areas have some of the highest rates of poverty in the country. They have some of the least access to institutional resources. Over 60% of indigenous Mayan women in these areas are illiterate, while the government reports that women in Guatemala, likely the non-indigenous, non-rural women, have a 75% literacy rate. So that places our clients at almost half the literacy rate of the nation's average. So what do we do about it? We provide microfinance. Microfinance, or microcredit, as it's also called, is an effective global development strategy in areas of the world where people lack access to formal financial systems. It's known to smooth out the income flow for millions of people worldwide in order to help them weather the shocks of life in poverty. So microcredit gives small loans to poor people for expanding their businesses and breaking that cycle of poverty. Many of our clients run small micro enterprises such as weaving, raising livestock, or making handicrafts. And no matter how small a business, it still needs investment to grow. Microcredit puts capital into the hands of the poor so that they can purchase supplies, invest in their business, and generate a profit. Our average first loan size is only $380. Seems like a really small amount to us, but it actually makes a huge difference to a woman in Guatemala. In the history of microcredit itself was developed by Mohammed Yunus in 1974 when he had returned home to Bangladesh and saw that there was a great discrepancy between what he was teaching about the national economic plans in university and what the actual amount of poor people he had interviewed needed to pay off informal loans and get out of a debt cycle. Originally, he co-signed for the loan to pay off those people's debts, and the recipients paid him back for their then acquired profits. And that way they weren't paying it to the loan sharks and they were able to become independent. This theory went on to be the basis of the Grameen or the village bank. We actually have a volunteer and founding supporter of Friendship Bridge, Mimi Schlemberger, travel to Bangladesh and study under Muhammad Yunus and microcredit in its formalized approach as a poverty reduction technique. And it focused on helping those without credit history or credit or collateral to access that capital for those livelihood sustaining enterprises. So when we were preparing to transition entirely to Guatemala and realizing the commitment that it would take to invest in that new country, Mimi asked Yunus, how big should we grow? And she will still tell you today that he smiled at her and said, are you good at what you do? And she said, well, yeah, we do okay at it. And he said, well, then go for it. Don't look back, help every woman you can. And his theory of the social enterprise, a blend of business techniques bent to a social mission, is credited for our early success in microcredit. Let's go to the next slide. All right, so myths about microfinance. Basic myths around the concept of microfinance as a tool are pretty easily refuted. People, when they're in a scarcity mindset, will often have less available mental bandwidth to foresee timely business opportunities and investments. They're literally just trying to survive the day, right? We've all had days like that where we're too busy to think about next week. We're just going to get through today. So in fact, when you place those people in money handling scenarios, those who are limited by poverty actually will respond more logically and are more careful with their proportionately more precious resources, provided they're given the bandwidth to do so. So that's what we do. We provide that extra bandwidth through microcredit, helps smooth out that income. As for microfinance as an institution, there's recently been a bit of a fall from grace phenomenon as the industry has become an established global presence. So what was considered the golden child of helping the poor work their way out of poverty has recently proven to fall short. And in the wrong hands, it's even sometimes become a tool to take advantage of the poor, given their lack of financial savviness and the industry's lack of standard reporting or regulations. I think perhaps another and easier danger to fall prey to is akin to killing with kindness, in that people would provide loans without preparation or education around over-indebtedness. So knowing then that microfinance alone cannot alleviate poverty, and keeping in mind that need for that education around indebtedness, around business skills, and that education coming at the client's level of understanding and in a capacity that she has the bandwidth to absorb, we were able to take that information and develop our Plus services. So Plus services, education, health services, and advanced skill set training have a multiplier effect that accelerate the reduction of poverty rates among our clients. So with those educational tools and empowerment, in 2014 to 16, the net poverty rate of our clients had been reduced by 2% per year they were with our programs. From 2017 to 2019, 60% of our clients showed improvement in poverty status and a 4% reduction of poverty rate. So what that tells us is the longer a client is with us, the better off she is. And the Plus services are what help her bear that burden of extreme poverty. They don't make it go away, but they help smooth out the shocks and give her that bandwidth. So how are we different and sometimes more successful than other options a client might have? Unlike formal financial institutions, we don't require collateral or assets, which are barriers to poor people borrowing money. We don't require that she be able to read through a giant stack of papers and sign her name at the end. We use social collateral and a trust bank methodology. Trust banks are small groups of women who come together and co-guarantee each other's loans. They self-select into these groups, so word of mouth and reputation, And the groups can range anywhere from 7 to 25 members. The trust banks will then meet monthly to make their loan repayments, and then a methodology will provide a network of support for them and accountability for loan repayment. So they all have to come together. They all have to make sure that the entire payment is there. And we found that it really works. Prior to the pandemic, we maintained one of the highest quality portfolios in Central America, with nearly 98% of clients paying back their loans. And in a highly competitive market there, 90% of our clients say there's not a good alternative to Friendship Bridge. And that loyalty was proven this past year by the fact that nearly 95% of our clients were making their loan repayments by the end of 2020. So forgive the overlapping voices in this video, but this is a fantastic example of trust bank methodology. This was filmed prior to COVID. Keep your masks on if you don't have your vaccine yet. The clients in this video welcomed our circle members, which are our volunteers, to watch a repayment meeting. And in this meeting, they're not only handling the paperwork and repaying their loan, but they are also receiving their non-formal education, which in this one was really fortunate for us to catch. They're learning to use Google Voice Search to look up an unknown fruit so that they can perform research for their business on the internet. This is something that they asked for prior to COVID, and we were so lucky to have it in place. And most of our clients actually received this training before the pandemic hit, and everyone really needed to know how to use Google. So you'll hear references in this to Doña Chila. That is our mascot that is used to role play or work through certain scenarios. And so you'll hear women pretending to be Doña Chila.
Doña Chila, she's a businesswoman. Entonces, bueno, trabajamos aquí con Doña Chila. So Doña Chila will start her presentation. She's in the market, and there she is the seller, and she's the buyer. Okay. Doña Chila, I want guanabana fruit. She says, I have no idea what guanabana is. Sorry, I don't have that fruit. So Doña Chila doesn't know what this fruit is. Guanabana. She doesn't know what this fruit is. Doña Chila marrotata chefa. So Doña Chila doesn't know what this fruit is. She's gonna start searching through Google what is this fruit. So she don't want to miss this business because she asked for 100 units of this fruit. She wants to search online what this fruit looks like, on what it is. ¿Qué es guanábana? Guanábano. Wikipedia, banana moricata llamada guanábana.
So what you're hearing here is actually Mayan. Most of our clients don't actually speak Spanish. It's very important that all of our facilitators can also speak in Mayan, of which there are about 23 different languages.
So this is the fruit she's looking for.
Oh, yeah.
This is the fruit her client was asking for. Now she's searching through Google what that fruit looks like.
So that is the guabanabana phenomenon of how to Google search for that. Some of the videos that I will be showing today are clips, simply because we don't have time to watch all of them, but that is the most informal education session that we've been able to get on video. And move on to the next slide. So during that meeting, they also repaid their loans, and often that is, the driving factor to get them there. What are our loans? Some information about them. All of our loans are based on a 12-month cycle, and that keeps the repayment rate flat and predictable, because that predictability is what we're really aiming for, right? All of our clients, whether they're new or returning, receive over-indebtedness classes in their initial group loan disbursement, so they know how to protect themselves from overextension. That is also taught in one of those very informal sessions. It's actually a really great game, and I wish someone had taught that to me that way when I was, going into college. Essentially, it was a game of keep a balloon off the ground. And when you only have one loan, it's really easy. You've only got one balloon to keep off the ground. But by balloon 4 or 5, that game is starting to get hard. There's a lot to juggle. And it really cements that idea in place that you have to be careful with your resources. So how are clients eligible for each loan? All of our clients have to also, on top of being opted into their trust bank by a group of women that can vouch for them, they all must undergo that PPI interview, and there are some other criteria that they need to meet. And then clients that stay with the organization for more than 3 loan cycles do see a reward in that they have expanded loan options and lower interest rates as they've built credit with us. So the group loan is that entry loan product. Anyone can opt into that one if they meet the requirements. The Chanim is very, very fast or very, very rapid in Kachikel. That one is more for something along the lines of seasonal products. So if you need something for Semana Santa, if you need something for planting, you need some emergency fertilizer, it allows you to borrow against what you've already paid into your group loan. And then the parallel loan is for women that have slightly more capability to borrow. They have a little bit more fiscal fluidity, and they are able to still have the group cosign for part of their loan, but they're able to start taking on partial responsibility. So it's something akin to a stepping stone to becoming able to have a private loan. And then the non-formal education, which you saw, it is a program that focuses on 4 main pillars. So there's family, women's rights, business development, and health. The lessons are delivered monthly when they make that loan repayment, and the curriculum is unique and responsive to the client's needs in that it takes into consideration topics that are requested by the clients through surveys. So the lessons are interactive, they're delivered through Google, they're delivered through flip charts, lots of imagery, not a lot of heavy reading, especially if people are illiterate. Additionally, those facilitators or loan officers are from the same local communities. They have that trust there. They speak Mayan language, they speak Spanish, and people are more comfortable and able to trust them. So we believe that microcredit can be an effective hand up, but the education is an asset for life. And by combining education and training with loans, we help our clients build that super solid foundation for a pathway out of poverty. So this video features 2 of our clients who not only received our non-formal education, but they also placed for advanced skill set training, which is teaching something new to clients so that they can diversify their income stream. This is another skip clip from a video that we actually recently published. So this is very recent, and it does talk about learning remotely during the pandemic.
Mi nombre es Fermina Poncio Laines y soy de Chatinap Tercero, Santa Cruz del Quiché, y soy madre soltera. Tengo una hija. No estudié solo 1 año, solo primer grado, y por falta de dinero que no estudié. Solo recuerdo que cuando era pequeña empecé a trabajar. Y bueno, como el trabajo aquí con nosotros es en las milpas, entonces ahí donde empecé a trabajar. Ya cuando tuve 13 años empecé a trabajar así con amarrar hilos, así de cortes.
Domingo Maria Ilea, tosa ocho parax Ramírez, y ren chakra lele que mano que mantak uy que mantak sharu que mano kalwach que mantak lele shot que man sbal que mano kalwach que mano Hay dos, Delia, como con 25 años. Y no solo chichi cayawi, y camik solo pa costa chica peure uchagil. Sola le cucame un camión, cucame un carro. Un carro cucame 3.000 o 2.000 por acá. Ahora por vuelta que por vuelta que
Bueno, cuando yo conocí el Puente de Amistad a través de mi mamá, porque como ella tenía préstamos ahí, entonces cuando quería tener mi propio negocio, entonces a través de ella, entonces yo entré ahí y después ahorita tengo mi pequeño negocio que es una tiendecita pequeña. Y ahorita ya llevo como 5 años de estar en Puente de Amistad y sí me ha ayudado bastante.
Wini mam hawari, ali chin ki wak no ki wuk no ki wuk chache ki manchia cha. Alahre wish ki siktos ki mi cha ari ken cha. Ekse shu bi chkele ba shin nokuk. Wini mam hawari, el Paula. Shaqos ki lokom ennugan. Aqnugan on rahil ko. Shaqnugan ko. Shaqnuts ki wulcha. من شربين ما مشقص كم وش اللي شقنو عني باكش شقنو عني إنه كنا كنت أيه بابس كا كمان بابس نخل دومين كنقول بابس كون كابيتال كون دومين توسا يكون دومين كنسكو كون دومين كنسكو لباي كنا صاحب كلا نشرب بابس كنسكو نشكون شكله نشكون شك بابس aparte del bابس
Ha llegado una enfermera con nosotros y sí me vino a ver a examinar pues, pero gracias a Dios que no tengo nada de las enfermedades que nos vienen a ver pues. El año pasado, como sobre la pandemia que vino, mi negocio pues mi tiendecita ya no se vendió mucho y entonces ahí donde no tuvimos mucho negocio. Como teníamos la necesidad y tuve que abrirlo, y vender un poco, pero ya después ya poco a poco ya más o menos ahorita.
Otak ke win mam en max ke tak win mam mas ke tira kalap tish tak be khum mishke ki ko tira kalap tish weli tish la ke cha لقوا واخل لقوا يشمشي لقوا خن روس كالكوتشك خميل يا بشكه ما خوي كتير الوال نمرش كمك باي شو مالك و350 شو تخم كار شو مالك مال روالكم تنقب أنا رخم خاصك شوك بتشاك شوك ماخش كتيرو شيك أنا مالكم تطلق ما مخشوري روال مخشور تخو بروح أقولكم قاخار قاخشين يكون لا قانا شويتش الأر قرقي قرقي.
Yo hace como un año creé mi cuenta de Facebook, entonces como yo me quería enterarme de noticias, entonces ahí donde me uní al grupo de Puente de Amistad, le estaba comentando que era la primera vez donde recibí esas capacitaciones en línea. No tenía muchos conocimientos de eso, pero sí yo me esforcé para ver eso y sí logré decorar unos globos. Sí me gustó que Puente de Amistad me diera una oportunidad y hasta mi familia también, ellos les gustaron también, hasta aprendieron un poco ellos también. Pues yo he tenido muchos cambios hace como 5 o 6 años que no estaba en Puente de Amistad, pero con las capacitaciones que dan ellos, sí me ha ayudado bastante. Puente Amistad, cuya bonitas capacitaciones, así como ojishokip, a veces con más oportunidades, puente amistad, es un, are, nim voy a ayudar.
Imi banchkewe, shirkoto sa, te trichkir, te kachila ngire.
I absolutely love that video. I think it's great that you can take on a new hobby or even change your life around at 73 and increase your production to 3,000 pots a month. I think that's pretty impressive. So they were referencing a nurse came to visit me. That is our Health for Life program. Oh, medical care in Guatemala. So imagine needing medical attention, but in order to get it, you have to give up a full day's income. And on top of that, you don't speak the same language as your doctor. If they prescribe you a medication, a treatment, or a surgery, you don't know what it's for. And you have to decide if it's worth spending the very precious little money that you have on the mystery treatment or on food and other necessary supplies. So for many Friendship Bridge clients, these are stacking frustrations that are the norm when it comes to medical care. Between these challenges and rampant misinformation about what is the cause or effect of a treatment, many clients will actually forego medical care for preventable diseases like diabetes, hypertension, or cervical cancer until situations are very, very dire. In order to address this, Friendship Bridge offers health services in rural Guatemala, utilizing the already established trust bank infrastructure and rapport with the clients to provide education, guidance, and health screenings at no cost to the client. It is a benefit of being a client of Friendship Bridge. The health services are provided by mobile clinics that travel to the villages where the clients live. And those mobile clinics are delivered by trusted and culturally sensitive female nurses who are prepared and have a program designed to address constructs that influence whether the clients participate in health screenings, whether they recognize symptoms, and whether they actually engage in necessary treatment and follow-up. If or when a complex health case is discovered, clients are then provided with patient navigation services by the nurses. So it's not uncommon that we've heard stories prior to becoming clients of people that have said, you know, I had a surgery. I have no idea what it's for. The nurses in our Health for Life program will go with that client and translate for her, provide cultural relevance for her, as well as be an advocate for her. So here is a recap from late 2020, and that is regarding our Health for Life services. Just so that when you hear like from January to August and you're like, it's May, this is for 2020's numbers.
Salud para la Vida es un programa que combina educación con servicios de salud preventiva para mujeres y los desarrollamos a través de clínicas móviles. Tiene 3 componentes, consiste en exámenes anuales, asesoría y métodos de planificación familiar y acompañamiento en casos de resultados anormales en los exámenes anuales. Este programa fue creado en Sololá en el 2015. El programa de salud ha servido a más de 9.600 clientas desde su creación. De enero a agosto del presente año hemos atendido a más de 2.000 clientas y 780 de ellas ha sido la primera vez que trabajan en el programa de salud.
Nuestro programa de salud lo trabajamos en alianza con Wukuka-Wok, donde tenemos un equipo de enfermeras especializadas que trabajan a través de clínicas móviles en las agencias de Sololá, Quiché, Quetzaltenango y Chimaltenango. Nuestros servicios son Papá Nicolau, examen de mama, examen de talla y peso, examen de glucosa, examen de presión arterial, exámenes de embarazo, también asesoría y planificación familiar, exámenes también de enfermedades de transmisión sexual y seguimiento en casos anormales de nuestras pacientes. Para poder enfrentar el coronavirus, Puente de Amistad, a través de nuestro programa de salud, hemos instalado nuestro programa de telemedicina que consta de 2 formas. La primera es que nuestro equipo de enfermeras ha brindado seguimiento y asesoría para enfrentar pues esta pandemia y ha hecho llamadas a todas nuestras clientas. También ha enviado material audiovisual educativo a todas ellas en sus idiomas maternos. También hemos puesto a disposición una línea telefónica donde nuestras clientas pueden llamar y asesorarse para un caso sospechoso de coronavirus o un caso positivo. Esto ha sido beneficioso para ellas porque no han tenido la necesidad de sobreexponerse en esta pandemia y también ha contribuido a no saturar el sistema de salud en nuestro país.
El servicio de la salud es muy importante para nosotros las mujeres porque no sabemos qué enfermedad lo que tenemos. Y muchas gracias por Fuente de Amistad. Este año mandar la enfermera que hace los exámenes en Papá Nicolau, casa en casa, el cliente de Fuente de Amistad. La primera vez sí tengo miedo para ser Papá Nicolau. En segundo ya no. Y el tercero sí, ya no tengo miedo, es necesario para ser Papá Nicolau. La salud de la Fuente de Amistad cuando empezamos en la pandemia. Mi teléfono sonó y cuando escuchar tiene que dar un mensaje. Tiene que lavar las manos y tiene que usar la mascarilla para que no afecte la enfermedad. Si hay necesario comprar algo en el mercado, solo las mamás se van en el mercado. Las niñas tienen que dar en la casa y tienen que usar la mascarilla y tiene que 2 metros de distancia. Así lo entendí, es doña Chile.
Wukukawo, que es una organización no gubernamental que trabaja en Guatemala desde el 2007. Los servicios de salud que brindamos pues integran un poco de la ciencia y la pertinencia cultural para servir a las comunidades más empobrecidas del área rural, ¿verdad?, en nuestro país. En Wukukawo se llevan a cabo diferentes programas de nutrición, salud de la mujer, ¿verdad?, casos complejos, que es uno de los programas que utilizamos con las clientas de Puente de Amistad. Estamos nosotros, que es Salud para la Vida, que es el programa que tenemos con Puente de Amistad. Y luego hay otros múltiples estudios y programas de enfermedad renal crónica, de diabetes, ¿verdad?, que también se llevan a cabo dentro de Wukukawo. Entonces la alianza que se formó entre Wukukawo y Puente de Amistad se hizo en el 2015, viendo la necesidad de brindar estos servicios de salud a las clientes de Puente de Amistad, pues se formó la alianza y iniciamos con los servicios de salud tal como se conocen hoy en día en Sololá. Fue la primera agencia en la cual estuvimos, luego nos fuimos expandiendo cada año, luego llegó la agencia de Chimaltenango, en tercer lugar estaba Quiché y la última expansión se hizo a Quetzaltenango. La necesidad de servicios de salud en el interior del país es muy grande, ¿verdad? De verdad que los servicios de salud pública no se dan abasto. Los que hay, pues hay mucha deficiencia de insumos, de personal médico, y pues no siempre nuestras pacientes pueden llegar o acceder a estos servicios de salud.
Puente de Amistad nos ha ayudado en planificación familiar, peso, talla. Las enfermeras llegan a la casa a hacernos el chequeo sin necesidad de viajar, sin gastar en pasaje. Y Puente de Amistad en mi persona me ha ayudado con un examen de mama, que tuve un problema y prácticamente me ayudó en un ultrasonido y mamografía. Un mensaje es hacerse el chequeo, porque a veces nosotras las mujeres nos duele algo y decir, de plano se me va a pasar, pero no es así. Es importante detectar a tiempo, así como les digo por experiencia que a mí me estaba doliendo, pero no le di importancia. Al ir con un médico ya era demasiado tarde. Por eso a todas las mujeres les insto, ya que Puente de Amistad nos está dando la oportunidad sin pagar a un médico.
En las clínicas móviles, nosotros como enfermeras pues vamos a ir de casa en casa a visitar a las pacientes ahí con nuestros materiales, nuestro equipo, ¿verdad? En una mochila, nos encargamos de trasladarlos. Bueno, el reto que yo he encontrado con las pacientes, bueno, realmente, ¿verdad? De que llegamos a dar la promoción por teléfono, ya la paciente como que tiene mucho miedo al saber si es diabética o hipertensa o padece de algún cáncer. Entonces nosotros con el plan educacional que le brindamos, pues acepta la clínica móvil, ¿verdad? Pero ahí sí hay que darle mucho plan educacional para que la paciente acepte.
En Estados Unidos, nuestro equipo de Puente de Amistad realiza campañas anuales para recaudar fondos para el programa de salud. Tenemos un mes específico en donde se recaudan fondos que van dirigidos hacia este programa. Estos fondos son muy importantes para sostener el programa y hacer más accesible el servicio de salud a nuestra.
So that is our Health for Life program, and we are so excited to be able to offer it to all of our clients. It does roll out so Fatima, our education coordinator there, coordinator, manager, she runs the entire department, was speaking to how we fundraise for that. That is every September. If you are interested in taking on a health challenge to help raise funds for that, it does roll out to one new branch each year behind an expansion. So each year we aim to expand to a new branch and roll out to an established branch. So if you're interested in that, let me know. Next up, we have another plus service, and that is our Artisan Program, Handmade by Friendship Bridge. It is an advanced skill set training, and essentially it is geared towards our specifically artisan clients. So tourism is a huge industry in Guatemala. After remittances and agricultural work, many of our clients have traditional skills that they've cultivated in order to care for themselves and their families. So the weaving, the pottery making, basket weaving, fabric weaving, that kind of thing. All of our participants in Handmade by Friendship Bridge gain skills and experience needed to create and to sell their products to local, national, and international markets. And by acting on this opportunity, the artisans who participate in this program are empowered to design and produce market-ready products, improve their livelihoods, and ultimately help alleviate the effects of poverty in their families and communities through business expansion. Handmade by Friendship Bridge acts as an artisan client's first international wholesale buyer, and we feature her products in our online store, which allows the program to be self-sufficient. So you can see here some of the beautiful products that we have made there. And those are available at handmadebyfriendshipbridge.org. And here is an interview with one of our outstanding artisans. This is Lydia Parr, and she creates some of the beautiful beaded work.
Hola, buenos días. Bienvenida, pase adelante.
Muy buenas tardes a todas. Pues mi nombre es Lidia Rebeca Parr Puzul. Yo soy del caserío cooperativa El Tablón Solar. Pues voy a presentar lo que es mi trabajo, mi talento. Yo trabajo lo que es la mostacía, así como collares, pulseras, aretes y monederos también. Tiene dos clases. Uno es con animal, diferentes animales, y el otro son simples, pero tenemos diferentes colores también. Ajá. Y estos son con animales, así con mariposa y pavo real. Tenemos con mariquita y estos patos. Puente de Amistad, yo agradezco a ellos también con esa institución. Nos dio así capacitación y ahí aprendemos a mejorar nuestro producto y los colores, combinar los colores, porque hay veces nosotros no podemos combinar los colores, pero ahí aprendemos a combinar todo lo que son colores. Antes yo no sé nada de eso, así como empacar productos, como poner etiquetas, pero ahorita ya estoy aprendiendo, gracias a Dios, entonces yo estoy muy agradecida. También mi esposo también está agradecida con ustedes
porque nos han apoyado con mi familia, a pesar que yo me enfermé, pero yo sigo haciendo mis productos con ganas, porque yo tengo una meta para lograr para mis hijos, porque quiero que mis hijos estudien para aprender algo bueno, pues eso es lo que quiero yo. Muchas gracias por visitarme para ver mis productos, para enseñar al grupo de circo, y también estoy agradecido por el pedido que me están haciendo. Gracias. Muchas gracias por venir a mi casa. Muchas gracias. Y gracias por todo. Gracias. Adiós.
So that is our feature on Lydia. We absolutely adore her. Another specific advanced skill set training program is our agriculture credit and training program. So as I've said a few times, agriculture makes up a very large part of Guatemala's GDP, about 13.5%. Almost a third of the country's labor force are actually engaged in agriculture or farming. So that's some pretty heavy dependencies. This program started as a pilot with 40 clients in 2016. It now hosts 692 clients as of November last year. The clients opt into the program, agreeing to attend and participate in technical training directed specifically to women farmers. And it's a first of its kind in Guatemala. The women were offered personalized technical assistance by Friendship Bridge agronomists, group trainings, and field days at our demonstration plots where clients learned about modern agriculture practices in order to increase their own yields, utilize improved farming inputs and techniques. These are things like crop rotation, pest control, and accessing markets to achieve the best prices for their products. In 2017, it was reported that our clients had 57% more crop yields than prior to joining the program. And in 2019, a professor from the University of Toronto revealed in a study that participants in the agriculture program seem to show greater participation in production and decision-making than other women farmers in the area who don't participate, showing that higher level of empowerment. And two, the participants in the agriculture program have more savings and higher incomes than other women in the area who did not participate in the program. Here's our video on that.
El 14% del PIB guatemalteco representa producción agrícola. Es por ello que para nosotros el programa agrícola dentro de Puente de Amistad es una gran herramienta para alcanzar el desarrollo de nuestras clientas y sus comunidades.
El programa agrícola en el año 2013 nace a raíz de un estudio que se hace. Las clientas, pues a pesar de que eran clientas de producción agrícola, vivían en un ciclo continuo de pobreza. A raíz de eso, pues Puente de Amistad integra el programa agrícola a sus actividades. El objetivo principal es pues empoderar a la mujer en la producción agrícola, y lo más importante es que también ellas tengan acceso a mercados y un mejor ingreso con los productos que se venden. Uno de los beneficios que nuestras clientas tienen es la asistencia técnica personalizada de parte del personal técnico agrícola que tenemos, en donde se les enseña a manejar los cultivos de una manera tecnificada, a mejorar sus costos de producción, para que nuestras clientas sepan cuánto invierten y cuánto realmente es lo que obtienen como ganancia. Otra parte importante es toda la parte de prevención de plagas y enfermedades, porque eso también incide al final en los costos de producción, para que nuestras clientas reduzcan sus costos y obtengan mayores ganancias.
cuando xincajepa puente amistad. Ya coachikib arechla también achiha, tas chutaqalaq que ya no acabas tirar mukurak ko anta afectar ya ilentikon dala shinke kati arregua anri anshush entonces arregua mes de septiembre saqatiko entonces waqir ujer kuint chirilik porque más hap ya que cha entonces kuinta fa orri cuenta amistad bagaxo an capacitar y le achikib la achihab شوكيتو شريديك انتوس أريوا وانشوشي رقتيكو أنو تشانيم وانشوش إرسيبوية أريوا كسمي سيبوي ري يا شاقنك انتوس قوت تقواتش خوب أنك ري أري مصبوين نا انتوس بيل أحتكيب شوكي قوت تقواتش إشاقتيكو إشاقنك بوين وخير خيطق بأور أحشق سمي ري قوله شيء شادالا أريش حيقب أنجل شاقتيكي بيك pero kilo kotik ko akchre al ik am perdesre me hete here kotik am perdesre arewa wen here wa semire.
La asistencia técnica consiste en que nosotros hacemos la visita presencial con la clienta desde donde tiene su terreno de siembra, donde nosotros verificamos si el cultivo va en un buen desarrollo o si necesita de algún producto que pueda mejorar más el desarrollo del cultivo.
Visitamos a las clientas cada mes y medio a 2 meses, tratando de cubrir a todas las clientas, ¿verdad? Y las herramientas que usamos, le damos un plan fitosanitario dependiendo del cultivo que tenga.
Yo hablo el idioma quiché, pero la mayor parte es en quiché, donde los hago que la clienta se sienta impactado con lo que uno les dice y se sienta atraído por el idioma porque lo entienden mejor.
Yo me llamo Catarina Osorio Pu.
I'll actually stop it there because we will run out of time if we watch all of the great videos. So that is agriculture. Being client-centric, that often involves all of our social performance team. What is social performance? The down and dirty definition of social performance is essentially making your mission a reality. And what does that mean when we put it into practice? That means putting our client first by making sure she's getting the education she wants, making sure that we're providing the correct services for her, and making sure that she has the tools and resources to be successful. We learn about our progress in these social goals by hosting what's called the Client Advisory Committees. The CACs are a group of elected Friendship Bridge clients who represent the voice of the women we serve. They support the organization by improving our decision-making with invaluable input about our loan products and plus services. The clients also receive training to further develop their leadership skills. Friendship Bridge was recognized as a mixed star, a socially transparent and responsible MFI in 2013 by Mix Market. Star recognition is awarded to MFIs that have achieved a high level of compliance with the Social Performance Task Force Universal Standards of Social Performance Management, which you can see here on the screen. The Grameen Foundation actually featured Friendship Bridge for our use of the Progress Out of Poverty Index in their 2014 global report. And Kiva has awarded Friendship Bridge 5 out of 7 social performance badges. Those include Client Voice, Anti-Poverty Focus, Vulnerable Group Focus, Entrepreneurial Support, and Family and Community Empowerment. So here's a picture of our lovely first group back together in April, Client Advisory Committee coming together to tell us what do they need next. Part of our social performance also goes further than just the client. It extends to our teammates in Guatemala and here in the US. So on April 14th of this year, we once again received certification as one of the best places to work from Great Places to Work in Central America, and that is endorsed by the Institute of Great Place to Work in Central America and the Caribbean. We are at the 100 to 500 employee level. And in order to obtain a certificate and recognition at the Central American level, an organization needs to be evaluated in 2 phases, which all opportunities org-wide have the all employees org-wide have the opportunity to participate in. The first one is a culture audit, and it's a survey that's applied to the organization to know how well the employees are living their culture, in which processes, policies, and practices of human capital they're engaging in. The second is work environment survey, and that is applied to all employees that let us know how the employees are feeling in their environment, the quality of the workplace experience. This year, 145 organizations participated, and that ended up representing more than 89,000 employees. Of these, only 132 of them are now part of the best places to work in Central America and the Caribbean in 2021. We also offer training programs. So in response to the pandemic, we fast-tracked a new intranet to keep our homebound teammates engaged and learning during lockdown. Our online learning module, Friendship University, already has 8 courses, and those range from technology skills training to client protections. So depending on the level of intricacy that you want there, you can an employee can dive into any of those. Our employment growth goals, we are currently at about 180 staff members. We are expecting by the end of our planning period for our new 5-year strategic plan to grow to about 300 staff members. So you've seen throughout this presentation lots of references to SARS-CoV-2 that we've all come to know and not love. And it wouldn't be fair to my teammates' work to just mention the ways in which we've been combating it without first mentioning the place we were coming from right before the virus hit. So we started 2020 on a really great high note. We were coming off of one of the most successful years in organization history. We'd met and exceeded many of the goals in our 3-year strategic plan that ended in 2019. And because of our success there, we were planning to widen our focus to a new 5-year plan, which was the most that we had, or the longest strategic plan that we have ever taken on. We had served more than 30,000 clients who were making outstanding progress. And we were featured on Rick Steves' latest documentary, and we're preparing for an in-person gala to celebrate our 30th birthday. COVID was first announced in Guatemala on Friday, March 13th. In the time between leaving the office on Friday and clocking in from home on Monday, we had a rough plan and we started to work it. So during that week of March 16th, our staff rallied together to make phone calls to our clients in multiple indigenous languages and ask what they were experiencing and what we could do to support them, and how much they and people in their community knew about COVID-19. There was a lot of misinformation floating around regarding banks, loans, the disease itself. Our non-formal education continued via phone calls and videos in order to educate clients around the health, safety, and resources that they had during lockdown, including how to take advantage of a 2-month grace period we offered to all clients. Our Health for Life program shifted to the telehealth services that you saw mentioned and the call center staffed with nurses who made outbound calls to get critical health information out to the clients, as well as take inbound calls for any client that needed information or guidance around COVID-19 or other chronic illnesses that they needed help managing because of the pandemic. Preliminary results show that clients were more than willing to participate in health services right now, an estimated 65% participation rate versus a 43% participation rate in 2019. So they were definitely paying attention to what health meant. Handmade by Friendship Bridge developed cloth face masks for clients to make and sell both locally and internationally. And we launched live shopping events, making the most of the global turn to e-commerce and leading to a sales increase of 6.5 times that of 2019. Oftentimes, this was providing the sole employment for these clients over the summer. And food insecurity is said to have risen almost 80% in Guatemala. People were seen hanging white flags outside their homes to signal that the occupants inside were starving. In an unprecedented move for us, we launched a food relief program, and we raised over $65,000 in 60 days to feed 15,000 people. It was a huge undertaking facilitated by partnerships with other orgs, Unispice and Procter & Gamble. We, in essence, provided as much support to our clients as possible and have been preparing for a very long climb out of the pandemic. In return, our clients demonstrated that unyielding loyalty to us as an organization by making their loan payments, and the org did not have to lay off a single teammate. In 2021, we have started the climb out of the pandemic with some very focused goals. First, focused and careful growth, strategic targeting, retention of clients, specialized interventions, and leveraging of partnerships will expand our reach and depth of our service. We are very excited to announce we are expanding to 2 new branches in 2021 instead of just 1. Innovation and technology, we want to be a dynamic, versatile, and learning organization that is quick to respond to client and market needs. We'll have new technologies that will allow Friendship Bridge and our clients to prosper. Our social performance team is working to launch a call center for all client inquiries, creating a more direct and open communication with them. We will continue to offer continuing education to our employees through Friendship Bridge University, or rather Friendship University. And we are incorporating scannable barcode systems to process handmade by Friendship Bridge production better and to sell to larger retailers. 3, social impact. All strategies and activities will contribute to creating positive generational change and transformation for both employees and clients. Measuring the impact of positive generational change is not easy, but being a leading employer of young adults in Guatemala so that they are job ready for employment with Friendship Bridge as well as other places is one of those goals for social impact. We're also going to be rolling out a new program. The Entrepreneur Program will provide appropriate products and services to clients that will support the creation and expansion of established businesses to increase empowerment and spur business development. These are for clients that are above the group loan levels, so they are ready to take on those personal loans. In September, we learned we'd actually received a $1 million grant to launch our newest lending option from Target Foundation. Clients that have outgrown the trust bank model will be looking to get individual loans and private one-on-one business mentorship. So that's incredibly exciting. We're over the moon about that. And you can get involved too. So we have all kinds of fun ways, even though we can't travel to Guatemala just yet, we do have some fun ways that you can stay involved. We've got some amazing newsletters and blogs. We have a gala every year. We just had it, but we will be having another one in spring 2022. We have some really engaging social media, both on Friendship Bridge and Handmade by Friendship Bridge. You can certainly contact me about volunteering if you're interested. And then you can also shop at Handmade by Friendship Bridge. Special discount for OLLI attendees today. If you use the code OLLI2021 at checkout, you will get 10% off of your order. So if you are inspired to bring a little piece of Guatemala into your home, that is an option as well. That is everything I have for today. I did run about 5 minutes over, I'm sorry, but we are more than happy to open that up to Q&A now.
Well, you're fine, and you didn't run over. Everybody has their own schedule, so you're
okay.
You're
good.
So thank you so much, Dana, for that. And again, encourage anybody to put your questions into the chat, and we'll get you on. And one of the first ones that came up, and I'll kind of tie into it. So the use of technology is very interesting. I think that you touched on, and one of the first questions was about the Google Voice. And they were asking, does the Google Voice actually understand Mayan language, or was that using Spanish, or how does that work?
That is using Spanish, yes. So there are 23 languages of Mayan origin. These aren't dialects, they're unique languages. So that's a bit for poor Google. It is based out of Spanish. While most of our clients cannot read or write in Spanish, there's usually someone around them that can help translate something into Spanish for them. So it's not a perfect workaround, but it's the start.
No, it's pretty amazing to see the impact of technology and cell phones in particular, and ways to sort of make the world smaller. And you guys talking about your telemedicine and all your trainings and things in just in such a short period of time, how it's really revolutionized how we can interact with the world, and again, and help with that empowerment aspect. So our first question I'm going to bring on is Alan Lowry. Alan, if you'd like to unmute yourself, you can ask your question. Alan, are you there?
Yeah,
There
I'm here.
There you go.
My question was, why are men not eligible to be clients?
Why are men not eligible to be clients? That is a fantastic question, and it is one that we get a lot. What we've found is that the women tend to not only be more vulnerable, but when you invest in women, women will turn around and put about 90% of their income into their family or community, whereas men will only put about 60% in. I don't know where the other percent happens to go, but I do know that when we invest in the women, that 90% change is what's going to allow for the generational change. So while the client herself might not climb out of poverty, her children will immediately receive better food or more food, and her community will be better off a generation from now.
Our next question comes from William Day. William, if you'd like to unmute yourself and ask your question.
Can you give us an idea of what the budget breakdown is for each of the different programs that you shared about, like the health and other programs?
Absolutely. I don't have that in front of me at the moment, but if you go to our website, friendshipbridge.org, if you go under what we do, there's a link to our financial performance, and our 2019 annual report does break down every single one of those, including our administrative costs and our income. I want to be upfront that I don't have those numbers exactly memorized at the moment. Trying to think through what for Health for Life would garner, but I'm afraid I'm choking. I would say check the annual report, or I can look it up and get back to you.
And yeah, it looks like we just put the links to the annual reports there in the chat for folks too, so they can directly get that. Our next question comes from Saul Grossman. Saul, give me 1 second to get you there. Okay, you can unmute yourself, Saul.
How do you address the issues of clients who can't repay their loans?
How do we address the issues of clients who cannot repay their loans? That's where that trust bank methodology comes in. We don't usually have to be the ones that have to apply pressure because of the group collateral. So if, say, we were in a trust bank together and I couldn't make my payment this month, you and Scott would need to cover my portion of it, or all three of us would pay a penalty. That's going to cause you and Scott to look at me and be like, pay up next time. So that's the sort of peer pressure that we can apply to that scenario. Trust bank members can actually vote somebody out if they don't pay their loans and are creating an undue pressure on the group.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Our next question is from Dorothy Klepper. Dorothy, if you'd like to unmute yourself.
I was wondering how the men react to and feel about the women becoming more empowered.
How men react to and feel about women becoming more empowered. It's interesting, isn't it? Because Guatemala is such a machismo culture, and the women are often not undervalued, but they're valued in a strange way. We have seen anecdotally men that have come to the US and been deported back to Guatemala, and in the time he was gone, his wife joined Friendship Bridge and began making her own money, and he left the US and re-entered Guatemala to a house with a stone floor and a wife with a business, and he now works for her. Some of the men do have problems with it, but most of the men are just lucky and thankful. Well, they feel lucky and thankful, rather, I should say, to have resources, because it's not always a resource that they have either. So by the wife bringing it home and providing more options, you know, they are also expressing gratitude. And we do have some amazing husbands in the program.
Thank you. So you've mentioned a few things during the talk, groups and branches and all. Can you describe sort of what a group is and how that works?
The trust bank groups or the branches?
Let's talk about the groups.
Sure. So the trust bank groups are a group of people that you need at least 7 to form a trust bank. So people will call us and be like, I need a loan. How do I access your programs and services? And we'll tell them, well, you need a group of 7 people at the minimum, a maximum of 25 that are willing and able to join you. And then when we create that group actually designates a leader. They have a president, secretary. They have a group name. We have, I think one of the groups is Las Floras, Las Marias. They take a lot of pride in developing their group name. And then they will perform the activities together and the learning together. You saw, I think in the health video, there was a woman that was signing a document with her thumbprint. All of the ladies do actually sign into their loan. And then they all participate in their non-formal education and loan repayments together. So it is a big deal to show up on time. They can choose however the group sets up their own rules. That if I were to come to a loan payment late, I would maybe have to pay extra, or there would be some kind of ding or fee. Goodness, let me just plug in here for a second. So they have a lot of autonomy actually in their groups and how they function within them. And then those leaders and presidents, of course, can go on to be part of the client advisory committee as well. So there can be, I'm trying to think, dozens and dozens of groups per branch, and then each branch is in a different area, mostly in the Western Highlands.
And can you talk a bit about your staffing structure in Guatemala? And I get the sense the majority of your staff are actually on the ground and
They are, yeah. So we have, I apologize to any of my US colleagues if I leave them out, I think about 13 staff members actually in the US. Majority of our staff is actually in Guatemala, about 170 or more are actually in Guatemala. About just over half of our group is female, and about the same ratio is indigenous. So they are, from a client standpoint, very approachable. They are faces that they might recognize. They might be from the local area. They might know somebody's family. Oftentimes we do have, we've had clients that have become employees that have been with us for a long time and then were hired on in some way, shape, or form. We have clients' kids that have become employees. So it is very much a community aspect for our employees in Guatemala.
No, it's incredibly interesting, and it's, again, you're empowering more Guatemalans throughout the organization, not just with the loan program itself at the ground level, but they're all able to sort of rise up with it. So it's a very interesting model. So early on, you mentioned that the poverty rate, I think in Guatemala, you said was between $1.11 and $4.49 a day. So what do you find your clients then making? How much more are they able to achieve by participating in this program?
You know, I don't know the exact numbers, but I think that there is an example of that in either the 2018 or the 2019 annual report, but I do know that it is a factor of, so take Lydia, who is our artisan. She used to make everything herself. Rather than necessarily assigning $1 per day income, she now has, one of the ways we can measure some success is she now has something like 29 employees helping her with all of the beading. So the nature of some of these livelihood sustaining enterprises is that they will have fairly extreme ebbs and flows. And that's something about microfinance that microfinance originally set out to address in its in its base form of smoothing things out for people. Because say say we say, oh yeah, they average $2 a day. Well, some days they might make $1 and some days they might make $3, and food is going to cost X no matter what day it is. So that's where we find more of that success rate is in, are you more stable now? Do you have more food now? Do you have better food now? Do you have employees now? Rather than just the dollar aspect.
Very interesting. And the aspect that they're employing more people beyond them, and that sort of giving tree aspect of it is very interesting too.
Yes.
So we've got another comment from Jerry Aldridge. If you want to unmute yourself, she's a past participant on your Insight trips, and full disclosure, my mother. So.
Hi, Jerry.
Hi, Dana. Actually, I just wanted to say that I got involved with Friendship Bridge, I think maybe about 20 years ago. And I would get their flyer across my desk when I was still teaching and go, oh, that's nice, and kind of throw it to one side. And then a friend of mine said, well, come on our Insight trip with us. And I was totally blown away by what I learned. Their Insight trip is about a 10-day trip. I know it's not going on right now because of COVID, but we had a van and we went and visited these Mayan villages, took a boat across Lake Atitlan. I mean, you don't just drive in there, you go to Pana Achel and then take a boat over. And then we took like a little truck, a pickup truck around to these different villages. And it was just an amazing experience to see how entrepreneurial these ladies are. I mean, they have all these businesses going and all kinds of different interests. And I saw a huge change. I did this trip 5 years apart. So on the first trip, I saw people using treadle sewing machines, making fabric, and they still may be doing that. But I saw on the second trip, a compound where there was this big noise going on. I kept saying, what's that noise? And they said, oh, it's the sewing machines. And these people had gotten power sewing machines and were manufacturing sportswear for like schools and athletic teams. And they were monogramming them with the names, of the school. And they had just a thriving business going there. And then they had another piece of the business making children's clothing. So, I just think Friendship Bridge is fabulous. I really want to thank you for all that you're doing. And since I was on the trip, I can see you're even using more technology now.
We're trying. That's kind of the name of the game. We realized with COVID that many of our clients are needing to restructure their businesses to address the new normal. They need to be able to use technology. They need to be able to have an international access or even just a wider national access. So I'm so glad you were able to see subsequent visits to the same artisan, because not all of our
I saw a huge
trips
change
go to the same place. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for coming on not one but 2 trips. And we will have Insight trips again. I think our first group is maybe looking at going down in spring of 2022. And we can do private groups if OLLI wants to do a OLLI only group. They usually limited to about 15 people, I want to say. But we can definitely go down again soon as it's safe. As soon as it's safe.
Sounds very intriguing. We've been interested in doing travel programs with our OSHA program for a while, and I'm sure there's some interesting opportunities out there.
Yeah.
Well, I've got one other question that kind of came to mind through all this is sort of when you have, is there sort of a typical client life cycle that you see in terms of once somebody becomes a client, are they generally there for a very long time, or do they achieve a level that they don't need you anymore? Or can you kind of talk about some of those dimensions?
Absolutely. So length of time clients are with us. We push and strive so hard to make sure that a client stays with us beyond her 3rd loan cycle, so 3 years. After 3 years, we really start to see her progress. We really start to see things turning around for her. Life is becoming easier. Resources are easier to manage. There aren't as many surprises. Just feeling more empowered, more confident. So we really aim for that 3-year. We want them to stay with us past their 3rd loan cycle. And that is when, you know, we get them the lower interest rates, or we get them that access to a parallel loan. And we'll also, you know, look for other ways to keep them engaged. We do actually have clients that have said, I don't need the loan, but I value the group, and I value the health services, and I enjoy the education. So I'll take out another one with you guys. We do actually have clients that stay with us. And that is why we realized we needed to start the Entrepreneur Program. It's a brand new program that we received, or that we decided to begin, because we were receiving so much feedback from the clients that they're like, I don't need the group anymore. Come on, let's just you and me. Let's make this happen. So we've been building that quietly into the background because of their feedback and their desire to continue working with us and their established trust with us. So that is something that we're very, very proud of, and excited to see them growing into those leadership roles and those entrepreneurial roles.
And I suspect they'll have more to educate us on entrepreneurship than we will for them in many ways. I've seen, I work with artists in Mexico, and some of the most entrepreneurial people I've ever met in my life. So I think there'll be a lot of very interesting sharing and giving with that, and it should be phenomenal.
Absolutely. And they are in it to just make, they just love it. They love it as much as they need it. So it is something that, you know, we want to honor that, and we want to be there for them in all the different ways that they want to make their living. And that's what being client-centric is.
Well, Dana, I think we've come to the end of our Q&A, and we really appreciate your time today and for helping kick off our summer speaker series, and just appreciate it so much. And we've put a lot of links in the chat for everybody. We will have this video available from our website as well, and we'll share it with our any registrants and help spread the word. But thank you so much for the good work that Friendship Bridge does, and for being with us today.
Yes, thank you for having us and for having me. I hope you guys have an amazing summer session.